Welcome back. President Trump just spoke to Fox News' John Roberts a moment ago. He says he is now considering renewing Project Freedom, but he says this time around, the U.S. guiding ships through the Strait of Hormuz would be just one small piece of what would be a larger military operation. When it comes to peace negotiations, the president tells Fox the regime is, quote, going to fold. Joining us now is senior correspondent Benjamin Hall. He's host of the new Fox Nation special, Hope Starts Here, Murdoch Children's Research Institute. Interestingly, Benjamin, the president also just told John that the U.S. would have to dig out what he calls the nuclear dust at its facilities because it's buried so deep that Iran wouldn't even be able to access it. So there's the answer to that question about whether it can remain or not. What do you think?
Yeah, it's really interesting because what Iran has done, not only on this occasion, but going back over the years, is it likes to really drag out negotiations. And when it tells President Trump that to get the nuclear dust, you have to come into Iran, you've got to dig deep, I mean, that's bought them months and months before they can solve the nuclear issue. And so I think President Trump has been very clear that if the Iranians just keep finding ways to prolong and extend the negotiation, then that's not going to work either. Instead, what he said is that he's got all these options on the table. He's got the blockade, which is working. He's now got Project Freedom #2, which he might start up. He's got military action. He even talked over the weekend potentially about the Space Force being involved in certain degrees. So, look, President Trump is saying very clearly, I've got all these options on the table. The one thing that is perhaps concerning the US and President Trump is the oil prices rising so high. Project Freedom deals with that. But he's not going to be rushed into making a deal that the Iranians are just dragging out. And so I think President Trump has been pretty clear ahead of his visit to China that he's got options on the table unless Iran comes back to them with a better deal. Remember, they called the deal over the weekend. He called it unacceptable. Then military action will start up again. The blockade will continue. Iran is going to continue to suffer. So I think we're going to have to see over the next few days in China how it plays out.
He, keeps pressuring the president in the media, asking him over and over, how long? What's the deadline? How much more time are you going to give them? And he really seems to be saying as much time as it takes for my objectives to be met. It seems like the timeline is not the first consideration anymore.
No, and look, everyone's talking about the US timeline. How long can the US stay in? I mean, President Trump just said over the weekend maybe 2 more weeks, and 2 more weeks, where the Israelis and the US had specific sites, specific leaders they thought could be taken out. But the Iranians are the ones really struggling. They can no longer pump their oil for much longer. You're already seeing around Karg Island oil being let loose to a certain degree into the Straits of Hormuz. Once they can't pump any more oil, once they have to turn those off, it takes months, if not years, to get those pumps going up again. So it is the Iranians who do need to come to the table. And President Trump makes very clear that, if it's going to take longer, it's going to take longer. But he won't run away just because he feels that oil prices are rising. He's going to finish the job. I think it just remains to be seen how exactly he's doing that. And he's given a lot of time to negotiations up to this point. He really has been pretty patient. The question is, how long does that patience last?
I want to make sure I talk to you about this while I have you here. It seems like in your downtime, you've been pretty busy putting together this fantastic new Fox Nation special that is coming out. Let's do a quick teaser for our viewers at home.
Consistent theme among all of the canned families. They are not sitting at home feeling sorry for themselves. They're out there living, giving their children the best lives possible.
It's really tough raising a child with CAND, but she's happy and she's taught us life is positive.
Yeah, she's very loving and caring and always gives you a big koala hug.
And their visit to MCRI left them with one unmistakable feeling.
There is some light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to stay positive. There is hope.
What's your favorite part of this Fox Nation special?
This was one of probably the most rewarding things I've worked on. There is this very rare degenerative disease called KIF1A. Only 600 to 700 children around the world have it. And it's pretty awful. I mean, the children start to lose their focus, their eyesight, their movement, their speech, and their lifespan is not long. And this documentary follows these families who are trying to find a cure, because there is no cure at the moment, and it's trying to find a cure for it. But what is most amazing is the bravery of these children, the courage of these parents who have had to put everything to one side to try and help their children. And I know it's a really horrible disease, and if you watch the documentary, you'll see what it's like. But they find these incredible sources of strength out of it. And we looked also at the research that's being done to try and find a cure. And a lot of it's based out of the MCRI, which is the Murdoch Children's Research Institute, which was set up by the grandmother of the CEO of our parent company, Lachlan Murdoch. But they're around the world. They're doing all this research. They're trying to give hope to these families. And You know, it's a medical documentary, but it's really about the families, the children, and trying to find hope where right now there isn't much. So, I mean, honestly, it makes you realize that we must never take anything for granted. It reminds you how strong families are, particularly after Mother's Day. And it really is something that if you have a moment, sit down and watch it. It's on Fox Nation, and just a great, great joy to spend time telling the stories of these families.
And the excruciating work being done by the families, their doctors, by the Institute. We'll all be watching that tonight. Thank you, Benji.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.